Talk shoes. Recorded live.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be across the nation or around the world. Once again, you're listening to VMware Communities Roundtable Podcast. This is podcast number 616. My name is Eric Nelson, and with me today, I have my regular co-host, Matt Longa. Today is Wednesday, August 4th, 2022. Matt, how's it going?
Eric, it's hard to believe it's August already. We are 25 days away from the Sunday prior to the start of VMware Explore. I almost said VMworld. I owe $1 into the tip jar yet again. But things are progressing. We're hearing more about the events. We have Brad Tompkins with us here to share all things of VMUG, so VMware Users Group, what they're going to look like for the second half of this year, their presence at the event, all things, members and community and whatnot. But before we get to all of that, sir, my favorite questions that I always ask of you: how are you doing? What is the color of the bay out there? And how is the weather out on the West Coast?
Hey, Silicon Valley, I'm doing really well. I'm actually excited. I'm getting, you can't come this close to VMworld or VMware Explorer and not just start having the adrenaline rush through you as programs start coming through. All the Nooks are being ordered. They're being delivered next week. We got sensor code running on Nooks, which is really cool. We got Bill Roth doing Tanzu, running a cluster on these. It's like, so everything starts coming together. You're panicking coming into late July, where nothing is working. Now you're coming in. Now we're seeing reg numbers jump through the roof, right? Like, so that's happening. I've heard we crossed 5,000 and we're heading into 7,000. I think we're going to make, into the 10 to 12,000, which was our target for the US. I think that's going to happen. We're seeing a late surge of reg, which is also, that's exciting. People are kind of happy about that. And we've seen that at other events as well. So I think there's just a lot of stuff coming together that you're getting me excited, right? I'm actually going to have a lot of fun. We're going to go out and we're going to increase the number of sessions for the home lab smart sensors. So we're going to increase up by 25 per session or something like that. So if you missed that, you can go reg for that. That'll be fun. We might have some of the Nooks there. If you missed the expert reg, we might have some for sale. They're like super cheap, like $140. So if you want to get a Nook and you didn't, you're not a V-expert, but you want to come take something home, we might be able to sell you one and you can expense it on your travel report. It's just low enough. You might be able to do that. So going to be some fun time. Excited about that. Color, the Bay Area, Silicon Valley is beautiful. It's chilly. It's been not chilly, but it's been cool and kind of cool weather. We actually had rain and lightning yesterday. I think there's a hurricane that came up through the Gulf of Mexico and up the California state. We got some weather. It's been cool, cloudy, which we don't really get thunderclouds and lightning in the Bay Area very often, and once every 3 or 4 or 5 years. We got a little rain yesterday and some thunders happening in the Bay Area. So that's usually news. And the Bay has been choppy and green and choppy and muddy because it's the weather has kicked up. So that's some unusual weather here. So just a shout out again, US, August 29th through September 1st. I did hear that the VM Underground is doing something on that Sunday as well. So look out for that.
It was originally announced as Saturday. I spoke with Brian Nudston and Mike Letchin that it was improperly published initially as Saturday. So for those of you that saw that out there, that the VM Underground party was going to be Saturday, that was a misnomer. It will be Sunday. All those details are out on vmunderground.com. I would always a great event, a big kickoff to what is the week that has always been, VMware community and whatnot. So the Explorers kickoff again that Sunday, which I believe is the 28th, 7 to 11 p.m. They are asking for some donations for tickets. Customers that are out there, talk with your vendors that are sponsoring that event. I believe Veeam is one of them. A couple of others are named on their event page where they might be able to help you out with a cover and defray some of those costs. But yeah, sign up. Great start to the event week for VM Underground.
Yeah, cool stuff. Cool stuff. And last but not least, I'm just the community keeps rolling on, right? And I know the Broadcom folks are coming in and getting some presentations around the thing. And I know that we actually did some analysis on how much revenue do community touch for VMware, and we did the math, and it's $1.5 billion a year is touched through communities, right? Which is what we've always known, right? And so we are presenting that back to Broadcom to let them know that, really, if you're selling software in the enterprise, you need people to implement that. You're going to have community people that are the IT practitioners that are implementing, data center architecture, and we're a big force. So I'm excited about everything. They're listening to us, which is also good. We're getting some stage when it comes to that, and so I think Broadcom is coming in listening to some of the stuff we're working on as well, and I'm excited about it. And with us today, Brad, as always, the VMUG stuff, I've been involved with the board now, right? I think just a professional organization, and we've had you here before, so welcome back to the show, Brad. Tell me a little bit about just the elevator pitch, how long you've been in the ecosystem, and before you ended up coming to VMUG, you've been the best president I've ever worked with when it comes to VMUG president. I don't think I like the last guy anyway, but tell us a little bit about your history and then how long you've been doing this job, and then we'll get into kind of the show today, which is all things VMUG for the rest of the back half of the year and momentum season.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for having me back, first of all. I always appreciate the time we spend together. So my career is kind of an interesting one. I start out at the University of South Carolina. I did get my degree in information systems, and I immediately went out into the world and started selling computers and networks and printers and all kind of stuff to corporate accounts. So I'm one of the few that actually using my degree that I had. I did that for a little bit of a stint. Then I started selling computer training. And I was not doing the training, but I was selling the computer training. And then one of my clients was a company called Siebel's, and they were an insurance company. And so I moved over there to the help desk, because we all start out at the help desk, right? So I was on the help desk for a while, and that company went through a change where they were doing insurance, and then they moved into more of an IT business process outsourcing for other insurance companies. And I also, during that time, I switched over into telecom. So I was doing telecom, working on Nortel's 81Cs with the punch tools and 66 blocks and all that kind of fun stuff. And that's when I moved over to Time Warner Cable. So Time Warner Cable, I was there in the telecom role. But that's when I was with a company that telecom was in the IT department. So that's when, before the big merger with VoIP and everything, but that's when all that happened when I was at Time Warner Cable. Another interesting thing that happened while I was at Time Warner was AOL bought Time Warner Cable. And so part of my job was to go and put AIM Instant Messenger on everybody's laptop. So we all had, of course, AOL accounts. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. AIM and instant messaging has no place in corporations. This is a stupid idea. It's never going to work. So, of course, I'm on Teams and Slack all day long now. So you see how that panned out for me.
Right.
That thought didn't age well, needless to say. So then telco and IT merged, and that was really interesting for me, because I was like, holy cow, these telecom, phones and switches and ring and tip and all that kind of stuff is going away, and it's going IT. So I started learning more about the IT side of things, which was a huge career pivot for me. And it worked out, and I was really happy with some of the user groups I was involved in back then, not VMUG at that point, but some of the Nortel.
If I remember correctly, Brad, there was a point where you were running a Nortel user group, right?
I was, yeah. So I've had a lot of time in user groups. So it was the International Nortel Networks Users Association, and I was the president of that, which was a volunteer role, and it was a lot of fun. Got to do a lot, and that's when Nortel went bankrupt, and Avaya ended up buying them, and not the user group, but they did end up merging. But that was interesting, having a user group with an OEM that goes bankrupt. Don't recommend that. But anyway, it all worked out, and IUG is a strong user group now, and it's still running. That's the International Avaya user group, and I still keep in touch with some of those folks. So I've kind of had a long career in the user group. It has definitely helped me out throughout my career. But just to pick back up, so I was, that's kind of when I got entrenched in the telecom department. I was the director of technology services and things like that. And my last job before moving here was I was the general manager for Medion, which has been bought out by DartPoints, but they are a data center. And they do, co-location and cloud. They were part of the VCPP, et cetera, et cetera. And so I did that for 3 or 4 years. And then when the VMUG job came open for the executive director role, I applied and I got that job back in July 1st of 2015. So I've been doing it for over 7 years now. And it's such an honor and a pleasure to represent a great community like VMUG and just to being part of the V community as a whole. And what we do for people's careers is really exciting. When we have people that come on board and I usually sit down and talk with them for 30 minutes and just kind of give them the overview. I'm like, look, your job, yes, like any job, you're going to have a task that might get mundane. It might seem transactional, but just keep in mind when you're putting that reg page up for the Dallas Fort Worth user group to say, hey, come to this meeting, and you're proving it and you're doing all the things that you do and sending emails out. It's not about that meeting. It's about the career changes that you make in people's lives. And there's so many examples I have of this where people are thankful to the V community for helping them out in a jam, helping them get that VCAP that leads to the VCDX, that leads to the new job, or help them, getting part of being on VMware, being a VMware employee and those kind of things. So when you break it down, yes, we do events and we have community and we want to connect people. But I really feel like VMUG is we're in the career business. We want everybody to continue their career. And if VMUG has been a small part of that along the way, well, that's awesome. And that's what gets me up in the morning. And then to be able to do it with an awesome OEM like VMware is just fantastic. I remember where I was when I was shown vMotion for the first time. And I used to do talks about SRM and disaster recovery and all this kind of stuff back in the day. So it's kind of a win-win for me. I get the awesome community side. I still consider myself in IT, though some might, argue with me on that. But to be so close to the tech, it's awesome. So I feel very fortunate, blessed. And again, I'm just honored to represent such a great community.
Yeah, I got just a couple of thoughts around that whole narrative, right? One, Nortel and just that's the phone systems, right? Like, weren't they big in the classic, beautiful, they had the iPhone of desktop phones, if you want to have a really good, yeah. But then when you try to manage that PBX and deal with the OS that you had on the back, because I did that for a while. I was, I worked as an IT guy for like a $60 million company. It had like 50 employees. We had Nortel and then you had to deal with that operating system there and like configure it and all that. You needed a user group just to deal with. Like, now I look at that and I go, yeah, now everything is just, SaaS PBXs, right? Like, Don, how many people actually have?
I feel like you miss the newer operators that are coming into our community miss so much from not doing the phone thing. And Brad and I have talked about it hours about this, about punch blocks and old, key systems and formal PBXs and least cost routing and whatnot. There was something to be said about all of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I remember load 20, getting load 20, load 10, and type in all that stuff to make the keys look different and the routing. It was craziness.
Yeah. That's crazy. I think I bought, because I wanted my own company sometime in my 20s. I bought my own PBX system, some clone PBX system, right? And then just put it in my garage and hooked it up so I had lines in and I had BBSs I was running and then I could have mailboxes and I'd hire all my friends, or I just have my friends and set up, and we had a whole virtual company, on this PBX system that was like, we had to program it too. It was like, it's just those good times. I look at that and I go, the new generation, are we going to have the same conversation? Like, yeah, we used to have computers and racks with the wiring and gear. And, now everything's just in a cloud somewhere. We don't actually we still have phone systems, but we don't have that hands-on. I'm wondering, I hope not, right? I think that I want to make a t-shirt that says it's still all about the V, right? people are like, the V, no, it's multi-cloud. It's, it's VMware Explorer now. It's not VMworld. Right? I'm like, no, I want to make a t-shirt. Just stick with it. It's all about the V, right? So, it's a great history, Brad. And, and I smile and get little goosebumps because like a lot of us come through IT or came from programming and then IT. A lot of us didn't get their college degree. You get all these stories, and yours is kind of cool because you worked in sales, right? And I think you're the only person I can think of that we've had on the show that has told us that career arc. And it's like, I came from sales and worked my way down into this space versus we're crawling your way from the bottom up into this space, right? It's interesting, but it makes a lot of sense, right? I could see that, right? So let's get on to the show. So you guys, so why don't we just drift over to VMware Explorer for a minute? I know you guys are going to be there and you have like a couple things going on. I think you're in the expo hall. You're going to have I believe a hub space where maybe the t-shirts are going to be. I think you're printing t-shirts. Do you even have an idea of how many places you're going to be at? Can we tick through the things? I know I have a list because, I'm working with you guys now, but maybe you should take me through what you think you're going to be doing at the show.
Yeah, first of all, VMUG's going to be anywhere and everywhere at Explore. But to narrow that down just a touch, we will definitely have a booth at 1504. So check us out there. That's booth 1504. We're going to be about 2 booths away from VMware. So if you're at the big VMware area, you won't be able to miss us. Come find us there. It'll be a lot of fun. We also have a lounge in Moscone West on level 3. And that's going to be a great place for a lot of VMUG members to get together, see old friends. Everybody knows that VMworld, VM Explorer, it's a family reunion. So a great place to meet up with people will be at the VMUG Lounge. And we're going to have, of course, things there for people to do. You mentioned t-shirt printing and those kind of stuff. A lot of good swag opportunities there. But what makes these things so special, I think, is just getting back together. And after 2 years of missing this, it has been so much fun going to user cons that I've been out and about in and see people. And then I can't even imagine how awesome this is going to be at Explore because, again, it's been 2 years and Explore with thousands and thousands of people there. It will just be so much more fun for that hallway track. It's a multi-day event. I'm super pumped for that. We also have the VMUG member party. Now, this is Monday night, so you can do VM Underground and you can do our party, which is great. And this is going to be at Spin. You might remember in 2019, we had it at Spin as well. That is a party that is free. You will need to register for that. And you can find out how to do that at vmug.com. But definitely check out VMUG. If you're already a VMUG member, make sure you talk to people about VMUG when you're in those hallway conversations, waiting in line at coffee, or maybe you're waiting in line later on in the evening for a different type of beverage. No judgment. Just make sure you're telling people about VMUG because at an event like this, there's probably will be half and half people that know VMUG and people that don't know VMUG. And VMUG is free. Membership is free. You can go to vmug.com/join and sign up. It's individual membership. So it's a low barrier to entry here. So I just encourage everyone to find out about VMUG. If you're already a VMUG member, make sure you're talking to people about it because it's a great thing to be a part of and it's free and you can definitely make a lot of connections.
I'm going to jump in here and say that every single person that's listening to this podcast knows about VMUG, knows why to be a VMUG member, and is probably already a VMUG member. So I got it. But it is important to spread the knowledge. I want to go back to the West space. So you're over in the pavilion, booth number 1504, got that. Most of us aren't going to be over there, right? How many people that are seriously absorbing all the content? They're not going to be over hanging through that's kind of where the newbies go to look at all the vendors and go, ooh, wow, flashy. But I would say over in West, Corey's going to be the VMTN community booth where we have V Brown Bag sessions and the code sessions going on. They're in West on the 2nd floor. And then on the 3rd floor, you've got the VMUG Lounge, which is, where you do the t-shirt printing and that kind of stuff and hang. And the reason that's a good place to go hang out is that that's where all the session halls are, right? So most of us are in sessions of one kind or other. I'm going to be on the 3rd floor doing the Nook sessions with Bill Roth. So we'll be up on that 3rd floor. Cora will be on the 2nd floor. You guys are going to be over on the 3rd floor hanging out doing that. So that really, if you really want to go hang out with everybody and learn stuff, it's going to be over in West anyway, right? So West is going to be hanging out. I would say to everybody that's listening, if you bought a day pass badge, you can't get into West. So you actually have to go make sure you buy something besides just the day pass, because day pass gets you go over into the expo hall and what they call the hub, but you're not going to be able to get over into West. And I would say West is where everybody's going to be going. So you're going to have to pony up a grand or something like that to get yourself a badge to be over that. If you're a blogger and you got a blogger pass, you'll be able to get in over in West. A couple speakers that are scheduled to come do code sessions or be brown bag sessions, just let people know. They thought they were going to be able to use their expo hall day pass for $100. The answer is no. You're going to have a hard time getting over into West. Maybe you can cheat, get a badge. I don't know. 3D printer badge. You can get those badge printers pretty cheap. I don't know. Look for a scan. I don't know. You didn't hear it here, but I would say beware. You're not going to be able to get into West where all the cool kids are without getting yourself a badge. And so don't be surprised when that happens. All right. So that's my take. Makes sense for West. Spin VMUG party. That sounds cool. I know that VMUG is going to be, the board members going to be meeting and having some cool engagements there. So that should be fun. Let's see. What else do we have to talk about when it comes to VMware Explore and VMUG?
I think we should call out that there are some members that current VMUG members that are not able to go to Explore this year. And one of the great advantage of the local communities, both for in-person and virtual events that the communities have been doing, ever since the pandemic, is that some of them, more often than not, will have wrap-up calls for a summary or a series of wrap-up calls, depending on the BU and announcements that the local chapters will hold. So if you don't have a chance to maybe go out to Explore this year, of course, we'd want you following along virtually during the event itself to catch all the news and announcements. But then, share the experience with your fellow peers within your local community and check in on your local VMUG chapter to see if they are holding wrap-up type events towards the middle or end of September to come in. And hey, if you attended, you can share your experience. And if you didn't get a chance to head out to San Francisco this year, maybe share in some of those announcements and talk to those persons that did. One of those great things that are out there within the V community, those events usually do not cost anything whatsoever, and a great opportunity to network with your fellow V community peers and fellow admins.
Yeah, that's a great point, Matt. And VMUG has over 200 chapters across the globe. We've got over 150,000 members across the globe. So it's pretty easy to find somebody that is interested in what you're interested in, as well as somebody that's close to you. The local meetings are key. We also have about 10 user cons left after Explore that you can attend as well. Those are free to join. Those are full day events. We will be definitely tweaking our content to have
absolutely right. All of them,
Explore.
Everything that comes out of Explore with the brand new content out there at those individual user cons, different talk tracks and whatnot based on those announcements.
So good place to catch up.
What's the first one, the user con that's coming out after Explore, Brett?
That would be Phoenix on September 8th. I'll be at that one as well. We've got Nashville October 4th. We've got Chicago and Paris on October 6th. We've got Italy October 12th. And we got Kansas City October 27th. DFW November 3rd. And then that takes you to Explore Barcelona, which we will have a big presence there as well. And then there's probably another 4 or 5 after Barcelona Explore that you can find on the website. But yeah, for US, NORAM, Phoenix, Nashville, Chicago, Kansas City, DFW.
I know I want to jump in back to Explore for a moment. Then we'll talk about your virtual event in September. But before we get off Explore, I know that the blogger table area in the community booth, which is on floor 2 of West, is going to have a sticker exchange wall, right, with little pockets where we can put stickers. And I know a lot of VMUG different chapters have their own unique stickers. I would encourage people to bring some, right, and share those, because those are a lot of fun. I've got ones from all over the US, and I like to decorate my laptop with kind of like VMUG. Yeah, he's got some. If you're looking at youtube.com/VBarbecue, you can see Brad. He's got some stickers on his window behind him, which is kind of cool.
I don't see a central PA one back there, Brad. I'm disappointed.
I got to get
you
one. Gotta
Okay,
get
that'll
one.
be taken care of.
Right. So I got a little bit of proudness there, and we are going to have a little contest of who has best stickers. So if you bring some of your chapter stickers in, maybe you own the sticker job, or maybe you just have some of your own stickers. Bring them, because we're going to do some judging, have some fun with sticker exchange on Monday.
Some of the effort that these groups put into these stickers is absolutely unbelievable. And I will give a shout out to our European groups that have owned this hands down over our US. Maybe outside of Indies is pretty good. Alaska I could think of, but the European groups really just take this to another level.
Yeah, I agree with that. So just a shout out there to say, hey, bring some stickers if you can. We printed up some stickers. I think we went to, and if you want to go print up a sticker, you can go to Sticker Mule. Stickermule.com is a really nice sticker thing. They have pre-templates you can go. I should do an ad I should get a kickback from Sticker Mule here, but I would say go get our sponsorship. There you go. How's that? Go to Sticker Mule, get a sticker done. I know some of you guys down in Texas do some. Maybe I'll do a V barbecue sticker just for fun, to have some fun with that. Let's move then to your virtual event, Brad. What's the title of the virtual event in September that everybody's going to invite it to get some training?
Yeah, so that's a professional development event. We've started doing this about 2 or 3 years ago, where we just focus on professional development. Now, yes, we will have technical content there as well, because that's part of technical development as well. It's September 15th. It's from 9 a.m. to 4:20 p.m. Central Time, and that is an event that's free to join. Obviously, it's virtually, so you can do it from anywhere and everywhere. But this has been a good event for us. What's interesting is, as vSphere and VMware has expanded from just server virtualization, it's almost like vSphere is at the core of your professional development. And there's been lots of content and conversations and sessions about that. And I think it was Manchu who created the shirt that said it all starts with vSphere. I've got one of those, and that's so true. You know, as we look at how the industry is changing and evolving, and yes, we've got acquisitions happening and those sort of things. At the end of the day, VMware is in so many different places, meaning companies. Whether you're SMB, commercial, enterprise, like, this is not going away anytime soon. There are developments that continue to be made on vSphere, obviously vSphere with Tanzu and those kind of things. And it's interesting, as I talk to our members and we read surveys, yes, we've got some members that are in that modern app type world, and maybe their company has developers and those sort of things. But there's still a lot of them that are sitting back thinking, what do I need? Why do I need containers? What's in it for me, kind of thing. And we talk about how, look, whether you need it right now or not, and whether your company is ever going to be a developer or not, you are going to have to ingest containers and Kubernetes into your environment, period. Because what's going to happen is these bigger companies are going to say, we're not going to give this to you, just like we went through on the 5 1/4 and 3.5 inch disk, and now it's VNDKs, and now it's just download it. Pretty soon it's going to be, here's the container that you need, you go run it. So you're going to have to figure out how to ingest this into your
that container platform in your environment to have and manage and to roll out that application.
Absolutely. And then once you get up to speed, then everything else opens up. You can do containers, but you also got the multi-cloud option. There could be a chance, and why not have the opportunity and the option to say, oh, I'm on vSphere 7, everything's chugging along, I'm all on-prem. Maybe an acquisition hops in your lap and you need to expand out. To make this happen, I'm going to have to balloon up to an AWS or an Azure or GCP, or pick your poison. At this point, you've got tons of options to be able to expand. Disaster recovery is another one. I remember back in the day, we would buy 2 EMC SANs and 2 clusters and two of everything. And it was so hard to get them at the same time to where they'd be the same model and the same firmware. So now you're dealing with, I've got a 2-year-old SAN and a brand new SAN, and I'm trying to make this work. Like, don't do that. Just, DR into the cloud. I mean, it's like nobody's running Exchange anymore. That's just not a business differentiator. So this is where understanding multi-cloud, understanding containers is a part of professional development. And that's what, we'll be talking about at this event. And then we'll also have speakers talking about the soft skills. Another big shift that's going on is IT is looking to be not just a call center, and it's not just keep the lights on and keep the phones ringing and the emails coming. It's how can IT sit into a business unit meeting and say, you need to get this to market faster. Let me tell you how I can help you as the IT person. And those conversations are happening more and more, and IT is getting to the business table. And we as IT, practitioners and IT folks out there need to understand that business piece and understand what it means to get something to market 2 weeks before maybe a deadline, or 2 weeks before a competitor, or just even 2 weeks more of revenue before the end of the year, before it's got to count on next year. So there's a lot of business things in there that we as the ITV community want to and need to understand so we can better prepare ourselves, for the future. And one last thing, I tell people that, that vSphere, that vAdmin job that has served you well the past 10, 15 years is not going to serve you the same the next 10, 15 years. You've got to add to that skill set. And it's not about abandoning vSphere. It's adding to it. It's got to be vSphere and just like, in my career, it was, doing phones and programming phones. And then it became, now your phones are running on servers. Okay, well, I need to learn IP. I need to learn these things. I need to learn networking, all that kind of stuff. And so those are just some of the things. It's all, everybody's always going to be asking for you to do more with less. And you always have to continue to learn. And VMUG is a great place to do that, to learn not only from the content that we provide, but through peers. And of course, VMTN is another great resource. The V community as a whole, I find that if you ask for help, there will be plenty of people that will give you help.
Man,
absolutely.
I'm sold. Like, I was just like, that was awesome. We record this and just play this at the general session keynote at VMware.
Brad has his pitch deck down tight.
Like, this guy's a salesman. I was like,
but it's easy to do. I say that as a misnomer, right? This isn't so much of a sales presentation as is truthful facts.
No,
right?
that's the beauty.
We can't rely on the skills of old,
right?
Otherwise, you're going to get left behind.
And the
community, as it is in place, and that the framework that is out there is a tremendous asset to help you to that next journey in your career, and not to get left behind as these new opportunities are coming up with containers and Kubernetes and TKGI and all of the other platforms across all of the other multiple business units. I think of SASE rollout within the EUC space, the monitoring, cloud health, what we're doing right now within the antivirus space and whatnot. There is so many other exploratory realms that you can now step into depending on what your business needs are, or your particular persuasion as a technologist that you might want to step into. And the V community and VMUG is there to help you get to that next path.
Yeah. What I liked the way Brad presented it, and I think you're saying the same thing, Matisek. We've been doing this our whole career, right? And he just ticked off all the different times we have done this, right? From telco to telco on servers to, virtual machines showing up to it's no different. We've been living this and we're all used to this. When it's happening, you either notice it's happening or you don't notice it's happening. And then next thing you know, you're just doing that job. You're learning some new tech and it kind of just happens seamlessly, right? Sometimes we think about it and it gets overwhelming. But I think what you pointed out here is that, no, this stuff we've been doing this all along. This is just what we do, right? And so it is fun to hear that narrative. Right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. It is what we do. I mean, look, there are people that come to me and they're like, gosh, I'm nervous about this. What's this going to mean? I'm worried about my job, blah, blah, blah. Right. It's okay. Like, we're all going through this. It's not like you're going to have to do this tomorrow. Just start working on it. The fact that you're asking this question and it's concern, you're ahead of probably where most people are. So you look back, we've all done this. Everybody has got their path. And that's just the nature of IT. Things change so quickly, we adapt. That's what we do.
Right. And to some degree, it has been a fun kind of stable growth ride. when we start doing virtual machines and creating, like I do love the V part of it, right? I've always been a kind of a hardware geek, and like all of a sudden you could do machines and software. This is awesome, and V motioning machines around. And now in the cloud, it has gotten more cloudy, right? It's just everything's floating around bigger. You lose track of just individual virtual machines. There's services, there's SaaS services that are in the cloud. So it is a broadening of that. So for geeky guys like myself who'd like to go back to servers, I'd make everybody just run machines, right? Like why can't we run Exchange on a server? I like that. But
I don't know. The dependency of an OS to run an app is certainly slowly, maybe a little bit quicker than we expect it to, but it is certainly going away.
Yeah. But there's still cool things you can do. There's lots of cool things, tons of cool things. And that's the point. So I like this. It's September 15th. I went to vmug.com looking at it to see if I can see the link that says where this is coming. I don't see it on the front page yet. Phoenix UserCon, India UserCon, all the UserCons are up.
Are you looking for the virtual event one?
Yeah, the virtual events.
Yeah, go to events and then hover over that, and then 3 down, you'll see virtual events.
There it is, virtual events, virtual events. And there it is. You can't miss it. September 15th. Go register there. And yes, you have to remember your VMUG login, as we've all got them. But then you go, oh, wait, what's the last time I've logged in over there? What's the password I set over there? I got to go figure that out. But go register for the event and, block your calendar off September 15th, right? I got to say, as much fun as Explorer's going to be, I do like the idea of taking a day, slowing down and looking at my career and looking at what I want to learn and go spend some time care and feeding, your career versus for me, Explore is just going to be learning tons of stuff and meeting tons of people. Right. So I love the fact that you guys are doing this, right? Because it's unique to some downtime, online time, sit at your desk and take some time to learn where your career is going and the things that you can learn from that.
Yeah, I was at a UserCon, and I'm going to give Amanda Blevins credit for this, but it might not have been her. But the comment was, your company is responsible for your job, but you're responsible for your career. And, let that soak in a little bit. You have to be your own cheerleader for your career. And that, means doing things like attending events where you learn more, and also speaking up to your employer and say, hey, this is where I would like to be. This is what we need to talk about. And how can I get these skills? And if your company is not doing things like, maybe Tanzu or, NSX, those kind of things, you can still get your company to help you out with that. Something as simple as buying VMUG Advantage. VMUG Advantage is a $200 US subscription, but you get, NSXT licenses, you get vSphere licenses, vSAN, you get Horizon, Workstation Fusion. There's a whole bunch of things you can get in that, but that's a small thing to invest in yourself. If your company pay for it, even better. But that's all that software you run in your home lab. Obviously, it's not for production, but that is something that is a big program of ours, and it is paid. I do have a code for you. ADV22 will get you 10% off of that, so it brings it down to 180 US. But that's just an example of taking your career, being responsible for your career, because that's important.
Wait, I was looking at stuff reading. What's a code to save money? What costs money? I missed that.
That's all right. So VMUG Advantage, I got my VMUG.
Oh, the Advantage. Okay. I just missed the Advantage component.
Yeah. So VMUG membership is free. Advantage is a paid subscription. Again, it's with the code ADV22. You'll save 10%, brings it down to 180. You get 20 to 30% discount off training. You get a slew of VMware licenses to run in your home lab, not production. You get
it pays for itself if you take any of the certifications tests, right?
Yes.
So
certification tests. If you take like an ICM course for vSphere, it's probably going to be $5,000. We'll save you 20% off of that. That's $1,000. So
that's still stuck on it. Stop selling VMUG Advantage. I'm still stuck on your September 15th. It looks like it's the event will deliver a highly interactive 3D virtual environment with live streaming keynote, breakout sessions. This is going to be like a 3D environment. So this is like a virtual environment. This is going to be the virtual environment platforms. Are they going to be on Oculuses? Are we going to have like a full immersive environment where I can cruise around?
No, not quite that much. Not quite that much. But yeah, this is a platform that we've used in our other virtual events. And, we have even before COVID, we had virtual events and we had in-person events, and we're back to that now, to where we don't do an event that's both at the same time. We think it's important. If we're doing in-person, do in-person only. That's user cons. Virtual, like this virtual event, is virtual only. So that way the platform can lend itself to being the best virtual experience that we can have. And one thing about the virtual experience that I like is you can be listening to a keynote and ask questions during the keynote to the presenter. Because in many cases, sometimes they're live, sometimes they're pre-recorded, but the keynote speaker or the session speaker can be there online, like, oh, you just said that. Can you explain this? And the whole chat, we all know how the Zoom chats and everything go, but it's that kind of environment. So if you're not comfortable coming out, to an in-person event, we have hybrid offerings for you. But again, if it's in person, it's in person only. And if it's virtual, it's virtual only, which we beta tested some virtual or hybrid stuff last year. And this is the model we're going with. Yes. But regardless of where you are in your comfort level, this virtual event, even if you do attend in-person event, is a good one to attend because a lot of good content will be there.
I don't think we're ever going to get back to just only in-person and only. I think we're going to have different, events, and the event experience will define what that experience is like. And I like the idea of both. There is certainly benefit where I'm not going to travel all the time, and I'd like to go to a virtual event. I like to, experience it and spend a day in front of my computer. But at the same time, I know vendors and advertisers and everybody really want to lean back into, personal relationships with people, and there's a reason to do that. There's a lot it's a gigabyte communication protocol versus virtual event is like megabyte communication, right? It's just like in person, you do get high fidelity, high bandwidth communication with people. So I think that we're now going to be in a world where there's going to be both. But I was talking to somebody earlier today. I personally believe that the idea of a massive events are going to go away. The VM world, the VMware Explorer, I personally think that's going to go by the wayside. What I think is going to replace it is big virtual events and then lots of user cons and in-person VMUG. So I think VMUG's actually sitting in a right place for the next 10 years where we're going to abandon the giant VM worlds. We'll do another one. But I think where we're going to go naturally with Zoom and virtual infrastructure and the way we've got our environment, I'm not going to the VMware campus anymore, right? I have this. I still want to go out and experience people and engage with them in person-to-person connections. And then I want to sit in my office and then at home doing my virtual stuff at the same time. And I think those two are going to be it. And I think the uber giant travel, massive places is going to go by the wayside. Right. And I think it will be replaced by the VMUG model.
Yeah. And I think about VMworlds of past. I've thrown some tweets out there from past, pictures of the good times that we've had and how it is a big family reunion. From my aspect, an event that has 5,000 people or 25,000 people, there's only so many people that Brad Tompkins can interact with in 4 days. And once you hit that critical mass number, it doesn't matter to me if it's 1,000. Maybe the number's bigger than one, but 3,000 or 33,000. That experience and the ability to make those connections face to face, which is important, in my my personality. Like I like being out and about and those kind of things. So that's important for me. But yeah, it doesn't matter, an events that pull in 100, 150,000 people. It's like, that's too much. Like
I get more out of the user cons. And when I did code sessions a couple of years ago, 2019, before the world fell apart, I would show up with sensors and we'd fill the room and I'd give away everybody a sensor at the end of it. And I actually got to, we still had 30, 40 people in the room, but I got to meet each one and, and have an interaction after it. There was like, and then when we did go to the general session, there were 200-300 people there. So I got to meet people at tables, right? Say hello. So the experience was the same number. I'm still doing sessions all day long with 40 people in the room, but you're right. It is not where at VMworld, I get overwhelmed. There's thousands of people.
The bigger the event, the more opportunity, but at the same time, the more that you could potentially miss out on, right? I mean, just given the scale of these events, because there is so much, there is only so much that you can consume. Whereas if you scale it down onto that smaller level with the, a local, user con or whatnot, it does have that additional layer of, dare I say, intimacy, right? You are able to develop a better relationship. You're able to, you're not rushing off to the next, session or there's more time to spend on that hallway track. Maybe a better opportunity to talk to that particular, keynote user. That's not to say that, events like Explore have their place, but certainly as we scale up and, some of these things, I think about like reInvent, where you have 100, 110 people and it's, multiple convention centers. Of course, you're going to miss something.
Yes.
So there is something to be said, to Eric's point, for these smaller scale events.
And when you're at an in-person event, doesn't matter if it's 10 people or 10,000 people, I would really encourage everyone, especially in IT, we tend to be introverts, start those conversations. That will help you on your professional development journey, because the ability for us as IT professionals to explain things to somebody that might be super technical, or either the CFO that might not be technical at all, to be able to have that conversation and feel comfortable. That's something by just opening up a conversation in that hallway with somebody that might be just getting that cup of coffee, or somebody standing alone. Or Eric, you mentioned at the round tables, I try to sit at a table with there's only one person, because now I know who I'm talking to.
Right.
You know what I mean? Guess what? I don't know if you want to meet me or not, but you're about to.
Yeah.
So I would encourage people to do that, and it gets them out of their shell. And hopefully, that leads to, wow, this isn't too bad. Maybe they'll want to start presenting at their local meeting. Maybe that can lead to presenting at user cons, and who knows, maybe even VMworld. That example has happened, and it is documented by Alan Renoff. He's got a tweet about that I talk about all the time. Matt, you're in that boat. I mean, there's a lot of times that just starting that step really helps you, and who knows where it can take you.
All right. Again, September 15th, professional development. Go register for it, 9 to 4:20 p.m. Central Time. Going to be cool. I got to pull this back to your original opening, Brad, right? Which is when Nortel folded, right? Like, how much of the community helped you find your next thing? Right? Like, because isn't that a cool, valuable thing about VMUG and others? Even if there's change, your relationships you create in the ecosystem. I've never got a job that somebody didn't get me the job from inside, right? I don't think I've ever gone in cold going, here, I'm applying on monster.com for this job. It's always been somebody's said, hey, Eric, we're doing this cool thing over here. This would be something I think you'd really enjoy. Why don't you come in and talk to us about this, right? And I guess back in that, do you resonate with that narrative?
Absolutely. And in fact, the reason I've got the opportunity to apply for the VMUG executive director job was because some of the connections I made back in the Anua days. So sometimes it doesn't happen like right after, when you need a job. It might be 1 or 2 jobs later. But yeah, I mean, that's something that happened to me. And it was great to be able to, again, find this job, which I'm, so thankful to have. And it's so much fun to be a part of. So the community is very powerful, as y'all know, and there are so many people that will throw it out on Twitter. Hey, just this happened. I mean, there's layoffs happening. There's through COVID, there was a lot of crazy things happen. In some cases, it's the nature of tech. And next thing you know, they're scooped up, and like you said, Eric, they probably don't even get a chance to put a resume on any of the boards. They're just getting out there, and people that will endorse them as well. Hey, Brad's looking for a job. Or if I put out, I'm looking for a job, and then 10 people will say, hey, here's his credentials.
Yeah.
And, it's great.
I feel like the community is like an octopus, right? It has these tentacles that reach out, and even if one area is slowing down, another arm has found a little hole, and the next thing you know, the whole body and the whole ecosystem goes squirring through this little hole and is on the other side doing some other thing, right? It's like, I look at that and I go, I tell people that, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to find something? It's like, trust me, all it takes is one little arm to find a new market and a new thing, and the next thing you know, the whole animal's moving through that hole and on the other side, right? And I feel
that's a great analogy.
The community does that really, really well, right? And so you don't have to panic, because there's a lot of tentacles out searching and looking, and technology is a lot like that anyway, right? There's just always new stuff going on, and you can't keep track of all of it, but the community will do that for you. And next thing you know, they'll be dragging you in some hole through a whole new wall that you didn't even know existed on the other side. So it's good. Matt, we're running out of time. We got 2 more minutes before we hit the V Barbecue Report with Tony Foster and Brad and everybody. What else do we want to talk to Brad about?
My standard questions. If you want to follow Brad along on social media, Brad, would you mind sharing with our audience how they might go about finding you out there on Twitter and LinkedIn, if you care to share? so that they can learn things all about VMUG and where we're headed as far as events and developments, especially with this busy season with what we have with Explore and all of the user cons that are coming out between now and the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm most active on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is right there. It's at Brad Tompkins _. And so you can reach me there.
Tompkins being TOMPKINS _. So Brad, again, all one word, at Brad TOMPKINS _.
That's correct. Thanks for pointing that out. And a little pro tip here, my DMs are open. So you don't even have to follow me if you need a message. I do check that, and it's amazing how many people have asked me, hey, I need help here, need help there, got this comment, that comment. So always welcome the feedback. Of course, interested in the follow too, but you don't even have to do that.
I didn't know you could just open up your DMs. I'm gonna have to go.
Yeah.
If I did not know, I've probably been closed my whole time.
Yeah, so it's a great tool. A lot of activities in my Twitter DM. On LinkedIn, I'm /n/SB Tompkins, like S as in Sierra, B as in Bravo, Tompkins, TOMPKINS. Those are the two biggest places that I'm on. So that's how you can reach me.
Awesome. All right. Well, with the last 5 minutes of the show here, it is almost lunchtime in California. It's the dead of summer. We do get out and we do barbecue. I got my Traeger out, and I've been doing barbecue corn. We do corn season here, so we just been putting corn on the grill every single weekend. There's something to do. Brad, we always ask our guests, because it is lunchtime here, do you ever get out and barbecue? And if so, what do they eat on the eastern seaboard over there where you're at?
All right, so I grew up in South Carolina, so when barbecue
there, nothing.
I'm a pork guy. I'm also a mustard-based barbecue sauce guy, and I like them all, but that's what I do. So the pork butt is something that I do regularly on my big green egg that I purchased probably about maybe 24 months ago. Love that thing. It really does a good job. But the Traegers, I was kind of on the fence on that too. I like the Traeger concept as well. But yeah, so I do a lot of pork. So the pork butt, of course, pork tenderloin is another one that I do a good bit. My kids love it, and it's got a currant jelly sauce that I put on it with some spicy mustard. You mix that up, you baste it with that, but you also save some and dip it later on. It's kind of got that sweet and spicy mix there. So that one is a fan favorite at the house. I'm looking forward to doing some brisket. I haven't done a brisket yet, but I was recently in Austin, Texas, and I've always been kind of brisket and whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
That stuff was amazing. So I'm going to try to replicate that. I'm sure my first few tries won't be that successful, but I will keep trying.
That is something, you see these shows, the North Carolina barbecue, fairs where they're competing and such. And like, they all have multiple layers, and then they're dripping fat from one animal down to the next. And it's all a layered dripping fat kind of smoking environment. And it's who you put on top, who you put second. And the bottom is where you get the really good stuff. It's fascinating to see how they manage the meat drippings on the layers, especially in North Carolina. For a reason, that seems to be a popular way to go. Yep. Nice. Makes me hungry. Tony Foster, don't know. You've been out at the county fairs doing kind of the judging work. Do you get any chance to try any good barbecue?
I haven't had any good barbecue at the county fairs this year. Last couple are coming up later this week, so I'm looking forward to those. Hopefully I can get some good barbecue there. But my barbecue report for this week, we tried something real fun and interesting here this week. We made a pot pie on the grill. Did a chicken pot pie. And you start by grilling your chicken. Yeah. And you slice it up and then throw it in a cast iron skillet, and you make a roux and everything, and top it with canned biscuits. And then you let it set on the grill for probably 20, 30 minutes, and comes off, and you have this phenomenal, basically skillet pot pie.
That just reminds me of camping, chicken. Yeah, where we do that kind of camping, where you get the the biscuits, right? You open up the biscuit can and you layer into a, cast iron thing. You put some kind of meat inside it. You close that up, put it on the campfire, and lo and behold, 30 minutes later, you get some crazy, yummy concoction out of it. So sounds neat, but grilling the chicken first. I like that idea. That's the smoking it and building it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that. That's a good one. Matt, how's your gas grill going, though, buddy?
Just fine. It works every time.
Control the temperature perfectly, never burn, never any charred, just you get a nice piece of chicken fillet and you put it on there, and it's you can't go wrong with that.
Matt, if you take your grill inside, they call it a stove.
So I've heard.
An oven, you shut the lid, you could call it an oven. Brad, I can't wait to see you guys at VMware Explorer this year. We're coming up 30 days later. If anybody's listening to you and haven't registered, go register. Come on by. I guarantee you the Nook and sensor stuff and Tanzu stuff is going to be fun. We're going to add some sessions there. Go check it out. Come get a T-shirt, VMUG. It's worth coming for a day or two. Find a couple K, beg, borrow, steal, tin cup, whatever you got to do. I guarantee you're not going to be disappointed with the, what I would call the very first VMware Explorer, and maybe the last. Who knows what's going to happen? I still think we're going to move to the regional UserCon, but I think it's going to be fun to do that. And again, if you're in Europe, I'm super excited. We're going to do the same stuff in Europe. Maybe it's slightly different, but we're still buying Nooks. We're going to be over there in Europe. It's still time to go register. I know they got some blogger passes they're handed out. Going to be some fun times. Brad, thanks for being on the show. Matt, as always, we're only making fun. I love your cooking. It's awesome. You go gas grill away. I'm super thrilled that you're here every week. Thank you for being here. Thanks for everybody being here. We'll see you again next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Brad.